Hi y'all, it's Katie and welcome back to Katie Q's Astro News. So today I'm going to be talking about another new moon, and this one is going to be in Capricorn. And in particular, we're going to be talking about the star today, the nakshatra, because I do sidereal astrology, which is a little bit different than tropical, what we're used to here in the West. And I like to focus on the particular stars. And today we're going to be talking about Uttara Ashadha. So actually, a lot of the signs are going to be in Uttara Ashadha, specifically on the Capricorn side. So Uttara Ashadha is one of those nakshatras that actually spans two signs. It starts in Sagittarius, and its Yogatara is actually in Sagittarius. So strangely, the stellium that is happening with Sun, Moon, because it's a new moon, but also Mercury, Venus, and Mars, they're all actually going to be in Capricorn. So we have a huge stellium in Capricorn going on right now. All of these planets are actually going to be in the sign Capricorn in the star Uttara Ashadha. So this is actually really interesting as well because we just had the stellium happening in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius and Capricorn are very different, and even within the star Uttara Ashadha. So let's get into specifically what Uttara Ashadha even means. So Uttara means later, or the latter half of Ashada, in this case meaning victory, or the undefeated, or invincible. So also Uttara Ashadha, this later half is referring to its prior star Purva Ashadha, which is fully in the middle of Sagittarius. This is the later victory or a delayed victory, or it can also be translated as a long-lasting victory. And you know, I've noticed ever since the end of last year, there's been a lot of this victorious, warlike theme coming through that is pretty unusual. So many stars back to back have been focused on like conquering and defeating. And so this is really culminating here now in Uttara Ashadha. Uttara Ashadha also, in particular, the star is ruled by the sun. The sun is a wonderful thing. Like, we need the sun. The sun is very nourishing and very illuminating. It's associated with things like the truth and authenticity. It has to do with your eyesight, awareness, consciousness. The light that we see brings us so much information. The sun, even like in tarot, the sun card is about illuminating the truth of a situation. It's also happiness and joy. But in this case, especially under Uttara Ashadha, but in Vedic astrology in general, the sun is actually associated with government, with the father, with basically it's the archetype of this sort of patriarchy, literally. And the original deity, because every star has its own deity, of Uttara Ashadha is actually the Vishvedevas, which is this collection of, seemingly from my research, a collection of male gods. They're the sons of the universe, and they collect together to maintain order and righteousness and law and truth. And so all of these things are associated with the sun, but also right now with the stellium, the sun is diminishing the power of all these other planets. So when you have all these planets in the stellium so close to the sun, you create something called a combustion of these other planets. Planets like Venus here are diminished by the power of the sun. And I had a friend, an astrology friend, talk about this, about how sometimes the patriarchy, if you will, I know that's kind of like a buzzword or whatever, but sometimes these sort of like oppressive solar rays can be very scalding and very hurtful. And actually, this reminds me of the yoni animal also of Uttara Ashadha. Uttara Ashadha's animal is the mongoose, the male mongoose. And usually in Vedic astrology, each star has a counterpart. If you have like the prior star, Purva Ashadha is the monkey or the alien. Some people say it's the alien. And its counterpart is Shravana, which is also the monkey, the female monkey or the female alien. But here with Uttara Ashadha, there's only a male mongoose. There is no female mongoose. And again, this really enhances this sort of solitary masculine principle that's coming through here in this war-minded and righteous warrior that is Uttara Ashadha. Specifically also with this emphasis on male dominance. I don't know how else to say it. With this emphasis on male power, male authority, these sort of structures, these exist in our reality and they're needed and necessary. But I do think that in this particular new moon, we're going to be seeing how almost restrictive and doubt causing it can be interacting with the sun, because everybody has illusions, everybody has secrets, everybody has even just things about them that aren't perfect that hurt our feelings when they're exposed. I kind of talked about that in the Moolah new moon, I think it was, where it was all about expose. Well, this is post-expose, if you will. So once all of these limiting things within us, even just our insecurities and where we just don't measure up, it's exposed for us. And so kind of coming into the more practical side of this sort of warlike tendency, this overly structured measuring star, it's really important to remember that the doubt that Capricorn, honestly, the constellation of Capricorn ruled by Saturn is very strict. It's very much a workaholic. It shows you where you need to change and what you need to build and work on. And that can create a lot of self-doubt. It can really diminish your motivation, especially coming out of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is full of hope, full of optimism, full of faith. That faith kind of trickles away here in Uttara Ashadha, and it's more so about the truth of your shortcomings and the truth of where you're at. So ironically, this is the best star to start things in. I think I said in my last video under Ardra that the beginning of the year, the very beginning during that Sagittarius time, is not a good time to start new things. Well, here in Uttara Ashadha, it finally is a really great time to initiate things. But like I said, these are going to be things that have to be in alignment with righteousness, in alignment with what is going to be the best for yourself truly and for everyone around you truly. Because unfortunately, lots of us feel drawn to doing things, whether it could be as simple as, you know, working out, eating healthy, things like that. But if your intention behind that is something like vanity, that is not going to last. That is not going to be something that creates a lasting victory. It's not very motivating. So instead, and as corny as this is, it's very annoying to think of it in this way, but seriously, instead, if you're coming from a health perspective, which the sun is all about health, that is a longer term motivator because it's true all the time. When it comes to beauty and vanity, in this example, that's fleeting. It doesn't last. If people aren't perceiving you, including you, if you're not perceiving yourself, if you're not looking at yourself and you're alone, the way that you look is not as motivating anymore when you have to make that good choice to eat something, or if you have to go and wake up and go outside and run even though it's freezing outside. That's something else I noticed was during Sagittarius, it was so warm, strangely warm in the middle of January, but as soon as it was Capricorn, the first day of Capricorn was only a couple of days ago, and it's cold. It's cold and it sucks and it makes everything a lot harder. And I do think it's that Saturn influence, that cold iron, limiting thing that really tests us to make sure, like I said, we're actually true in what it is we're seeking, and if it's truly for the betterment of all. So meanwhile, instead, in this example of focusing on health instead, health is around you all the time. You can always close your eyes and tap into the feelings of health or disease within your body. It's something that's around all the time. It's a lot more motivating even to sort of broaden and universalize your goals. I've read in some places that the Vishvedevas are 33 different gods, universal gods, that come together to govern earth and the laws and the righteousness, the right action. And 33 reminds me of the Freemasons, right? And I'm pretty sure Freemasons you can only be a man to do that. And so there's, again, this sort of like group mentality to Uttara Ashadha while also being solitary. Because, like I said, this male mongoose, there's something else I want to say about that later, so hopefully I'll remember. This male mongoose is not pleasant to be around. Like, these people, if you have this star, tend to really struggle in relationships, for example. They're not very emotional. They're very practical and very measured and serious and focused and hardworking. But because of that, like I said, we all love the sun. The sun provides so much for us, and the father archetype is very injured in our culture, but we do need it, right? We need security, we need structure, we need someone who's gonna nose to the grindstone, right? That's important. Bring home the bacon. Everybody needs that, even within themselves. However, there is a coldness, ironically, at least a distance that comes up with this, and a very critical nature that is not intuitive. It's almost completely devoid of that feminine energy of nurturing, compassion, subjective understanding that's needed to create soft, long-lasting bonds with people. However, this doesn't mean that Uttara Ashadha is necessarily independent, such as, Swati in Libra is the independent star. Jeshta is known for being independent. Other stars are known for being independent, but this one is still group focused, but it's much more focused on groups that have a common goal towards something like justice, law, humanitarian aid, like things that are focused on real, tangible, and less subjective, measurable problems is when you should be working with groups. Because otherwise, I would use this energy more so to focus on your own shortcomings compassionately, because compassion is going to be hard to come by with this energy. You're going to have to conjure it up within yourself to be compassionate towards yourself as you're looking towards the things you need to change. But I would focus this energy more so on things like that. For example, something that I'm personally working on is structure. I'm a very unstructured person. Like, I don't like waking up on time. I'm very INTP. I just want to be immersed in my research and my art. I don't want to conform to a timeline. However, that my inner truth does not matter when it comes to the universal truth of right action, righteousness, and success. And so I need to work on that structure. I need to create these things for myself. Specifically though, this is a really good time to initiate things. In that group sense, this is a great time for launching any sort of business, any venture. This is Capricorn energy, something material, something earthy, again, measurable. Doing things like exercise and stuff are really good if you're going to commit, because this whole star, I would say, is all about slow, small, and steady is how you can reach the long game here. It's not about coming out the gate with a bunch of passion and a bunch of plans and, new outfit. That stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is about reaching small, achievable goals slowly that you can manage, because that way you can actually win. That way you can actually win against whatever it is you're trying to change in yourself. So for me, I'm not going to get an agenda and write the super strict hour by hour schedule to get more structured. I'm going to take it piece by piece and break things up into the moon cycles, break things up into the seasons, and focus myself on slowly unearthing and changing these shortcomings that I feel like I have. In the group mindset would be business, especially things that are humanitarian. If you have like a new fundraiser or a new project that you want to get people in the community together to plant trees or something like that. Those are the sort of things that are a good way to get people to work together. Something where people are tangibly using their hands or their mind to create something and is not going to have too much emotion involved or opinion involved. Uttara Ashadha, this is just like a side note, Uttara Ashadha shows up so much with like pundits, like conservative male pundits, and I don't mind any kind of energy. That's why I enjoy astrology so much. But these are like your characters that people find extremely dislikable. Like, even the people that like them know that they're unlikable because they're very dry, sarcastic, and serious. And, I'm not going to name any names, but I'm sure you guys can think of some famous, like, conservative male speakers. I really struggle with this hyper masculine energy. Like, this is not my energy at all. And speaking of, like I said, for yourself, if you're going to start a personal project, I would make sure it's something measurable and not subjective. We're not talking about finding your style here or unearthing some childhood trauma. Like, that's not this energy. That's not what we're doing here. We need to come out of that and really focus on tangibly what's in front of us, what's working, what's finances. If you've got like a shopping addiction or a food issue or something like that, something real tangible that you can see the numbers, you can see the weight, you can measure something. That is more important right now. The mongoose is the enemy of the snake. Okay, this is in real life too. Mongooses are both the predator and the prey to snakes, but snakes are completely different esoterically here speaking in Vedic astrology, because the snake yonis, the snake nakshatras, are very feminine, and any of the nakshatras or stars that have to do with snakes, such as Ashlisha, Rohini, Mrigashira, even some of the more serpentine, like Uttara Ashadha, which is in mid-Pisces, is ruled by the serpent of the deep, which kind of reminds me of Leviathan from Revelations. This is the enemy, okay? This is the enemy of this mongoose energy. And it doesn't mean snakes are bad. I'm sure that'll come up later in the year if we go into one of those nakshatras. But in this case it is, because snakes represent things like the feminine path, illusions. They call it Maya in Vedic astrology. It's the veil. It's the things that are not of this world. They're subjective, you know, they're emotional in nature and illusory and not lasting. And it's more feelings based. If you think of snakes, their belly is like right there on the ground, you know, they're really immersed in earth. This mongoose, despite not having any sort of a consort to accompany it, does have a natural born enemy, and it is the enemy of the feminine, of the illusory sort of side of things. So if you're an artist too, I'm a painter, this is not really the time to go get out of your box and try and like come up with the most imaginative, like bespoke, obscure, metaphorical type of a thing. If you're an artist, this is a time to edit, to market, to like do more, or if you're a painter like me, to focus on practicing your actual physical skills of using your real tools and like upgrading that, or even paring down with the Saturn Capricorn energy, making things more efficient and work more smoothly. Because later on this good foundation of whatever we're beginning, whatever we're going to start under this new moon, then we can kind of get creative with it. Then we can kind of have more fun with it. But this is really laying down those railroad tracks to be able to accomplish anything. It's a lot more serious. It's really, really quite serious. And I feel like it's a shift from that little brief moment that we had with the stellium and Sagittarius. Now we're coming into integrity. We're coming into, okay, you dreamed a dream. Is it true that you want this? Do you have what it takes to accomplish this? Or is it going to last through to the end of the year? Or was it based on an illusion? Was it based on some other sort of lack? When it comes to groups, are you rallying a group together for a cause that you believe in? Or is it because you want to be a leader? Is it for pride? Is it for, you know, this is sounds very biblical, and I think that it's because of how patriarchal, not in a bad way, I'm just saying, it's just very fatherly, it's very orderly, there's a right and a wrong, some things work and some things don't. Mars is here. That's something else I wanted to point out, is if you become overwhelmed with doubt in any sort of a way, Mars here is really helpful, because Mars in Vedic astrology heals Saturn. So like I said, we've got like 80 planets here in frickin' Capricorn, okay? And it can come with this overwhelming sense of stagnation, restriction, difficulty. Hi, Lily. Okay, girl. But Mars, which is the planet of action, it's also masculine, totally different way than we're talking here with the Sun, Capricorn, fatherly energy. But Mars can cut through Saturn's doubts by creating things instantly, by acting in the moment. So again, with that example, if I'm sitting here and I'm upset about my structure and I'm mad about it, if I tap into the reason why I want structure and then act on it with Mars, you will find that a lot of the things that hold us back are all just fear. A lot of it is just like, it is very emotional. It's our own past perceptions of why we can't do something, following in our parents' footsteps, for example, thinking that we can't do anything different and not believing in ourselves. And the easiest way to cure that is through acting, by doing it, by trying, by having some sort of confidence and faith in yourself to actually try. And like I said, finding faith right now is difficult. And I think that the best way forward, if you are feeling any sort of feelings of being stuck is through Mars. Okay, and just as a little recap, because I know that was a lot, we have a new moon happening in Capricorn in the star Uttara Ashadha. Capricorn being cardinal Earth. Cardinal means starting, initiating, doing something fresh and new. Earth element is something practical, measurable, tangible, realistic, grounded. And Uttara Ashadha, the later long-lasting victory, the invincible star, its Shakti power is the power for unchallengeable victory or lasting success. The male mongoose, and it's ruled by the sun. There's many planets here. They're being combusted by the sun energy, the father, the authority is kind of the name of the game right now. So this is not a time to do anything criminal against the law. Just got to put that out there. This is a horrible time for that because righteousness and justice and all of that is what's reigning supreme right now. And again, Mars is exalted here in Capricorn. So anytime that you're feeling a little bit discouraged, lean into your willpower, lean into your personal confidence, and to be able to accomplish anything, because not everybody can handle this, right? How many people never finish their New Year's resolutions? It's so easy. It happens every year, It's so easy to get caught up in that Sagittarian, visualizing, sort of visionary, huge, expansive mindset. And then when it comes time to trying to make that last and taking all this inspiration and dragging it out throughout the year, people give up. There's many different reasons. Like I said, sometimes it's an illusion. Sometimes we, really didn't want to lose weight for any good reason. Just as an example, sometimes we wanted that promotion because we were competing with someone else, not because we were the right person for the job. There's plenty of things that we try to accomplish that are not in our authenticity and in our truth. But if you do want something, you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight the long fight, and it's going to be hard. Whatever it is that you're initiating now, I believe in you. I know that you can do it, but it's hard. So thanks everybody for listening. I hope that this was kind of interesting. This was a difficult energy for me. It's very sobering, and I appreciate that. I feel like I was eating like crazy over the holidays during Sagittarius. And yeah, I'm ready for something a little more austere, a little bit more grounded. And so good luck to everybody in your goals, and Happy New Year again if I didn't tell you. So bye, love you.